thing about getting old is, it's not that you don't remember things, it's that you remember things that you think you did that you didn't actually do, or things that you thought happened that didn't actually happen. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to Tag Tuesday. Today I'm doing the rock and roll tag, which is created by my good friend Alan over at Big Hard Books and Classics, and he tagged me when he made the tag. And I thought, I think I've done something really similar to this before, so I didn't do it. I'm kind of also not doing as many tags as I used to do. Anyway, and then MJ tagged me to do the video like last week, and I thought, well, I'll look to see if I've done this tag. And lo and behold, I hadn't, so I thought, you know what, I've just been rude to Alan. I'm going to go ahead and do the rock and roll tag today. And the rock and roll tag is mainly about, well, that's the name of the plot, rock and roll, and not really necessarily about books, but the first question is about books. So let's go through the 9 prompts to the tag. Prompt number 1 is name your favorite book with rock music in it. I'm going to go with Commitments by Roddy Doyle. It's the first book, I think, in the Barrytown trilogy. Every year I feel like I spend 2 weeks talking about Roddy Doyle's books over and over again, even though I haven't read one for decades probably. And this seems to be that week. I mentioned The Van last week, I think, on Thursday, and I'm mentioning The Commitments here. The Commitments is about a North Dublin soul band who takes their inspiration from Motown, and they form a band and they have success, and then the things that happen to bands happen to them as well. It's a funny book, and there's a lot of music in it. Now, strictly speaking, the music that's in it is Motown, and I'm not sure, exactly where the line between R&B and rock and roll music is. To me, it's not really important, so I'm going to count The Commitments as my book with a lot of rock music in it. Prompt number 2 is to name a rock drummer who deserves more credit. Okay, so my answer to this, when I saw the tag, while I watched MJ do it, my answer was Stuart Copeland from The Police, but MJ answered Stuart Copeland from The Police, which I think is a great answer. So, in a sense, MJ took the answer I was going to give. And it just so happened, I don't know if I'd looked up I must have looked up Stuart Copeland somewhere, and I found an interview that Copeland had done, and in that interview he named a drummer which he thought was really underappreciated, who deserved more credit, and that drummer was Mitch Mitchell. Mitch Mitchell was the drummer from the Jimi Hendrix Experience. He was a part of that 3-piece. And what people pay attention to for the Jimi Hendrix Experience is, well, Jimi Hendrix. But Mitch Mitchell is an excellent drummer. And when he said that, I thought, wow, there is a lot of intricate and amazing drumming on those songs. Standing Next to Your Fire just being probably one great example. So I'm going to choose Mitch Mitchell. I'm going to choose the answer that Stuart Copeland would have given to this question, because my answer to this question would have been Stuart Copeland. Prompt number 3, name a rock guitarist who deserves more credit. I'm going to go with Alex Lifeson here. As you've said many times, I'm that Rush nerd kid from the 1980s. That was me, my favorite band in the 80s and 90s. Alex Lifeson's the guitarist for the band Rush. When people think about Rush, they think about, the weird kind of prog rock stuff. They may think about Geddy Lee and his, hamster caught in a meat grinder, high-pitched vocals. More likely to think about the incredible drumming of Neil Peart. And Alex Lifeson is the part of the band that gets overlooked the most. But I think he was a great rock and roll guitarist. I think if you listen to Rush songs, you listen to his solos, you'll find that they are really strange and intricate, and sometimes they almost achieve almost an atonality with the rest of the song, which I think is really interesting. I think he's an underrated guitar player, considering he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now. Problem number 4, what is your favorite song? So this is like the most loaded question I can think of, because I have all kinds of most favorite songs from different genres and categories of music at different points in time, depending on what I'm doing. A certain song might be my favorite and not. So I just went with, and I think I've given this answer to a question, another tag. I'm just going to go with The Weight by the band. So that's my favorite song to sing, and I am one of those people who sings in the car. And so, if that song comes on, if that song comes up on my playlist, I'm going to sing it. It's going to, bring me joy, and I'm just going to say that's my favorite song because of that. Let's see. Prompt number 5. What is your favorite heavy metal band? I'm going to go with Iron Maiden here. In part, I just love Iron Maiden, kind of over the top embrace of all the things people associated with heavy metal music, the Satan worshiping, the weird kind of lyrical content, the over-the-top double guitars, the soaring vocals of Bruce Dickinson, just the whole kind of thing. When I was in the 80s, I loved Eddie. I loved the whole setup of Iron Maiden, and I just thought they were almost tongue in cheek with all the things the Satanic Panic people were worried about. They seem to be playing directly to those things with an intention of provoking that response, because they kind of thought it was funny, and so I really appreciated them and do now. Prompt 6: what is your favorite rock song that gets you going? So again, this is a song. I have lots of these songs that get me going at various points in time. But after thinking about it and going through and having like several different songs listed here as my choice for this answer, I'm going to go with Bonin and the Boneyard by Fishbone. I've also mentioned this song before. It is lyrically inappropriate, but it is just a whole lot of fun. And it always, gets me going, as Alan would say. It makes me happy and joyful and bouncy and, that kind of stuff. If you can imagine me happy, joyful, bouncy. Anyway, prompt 7. What was your first concert and what was the year? It was the 1984 Texas Jam. I grew up in a small town, a small city in rural East Texas, and no concerts ever came there. I lived relatively about 20 miles away from Nacogdoches, which is a college town, and occasionally bands would go to Nacogdoches. I think when I was in high school, only one band went there, and it was Chicago, which I did not go see, or maybe Foreigner went there at one time. But there are almost no concerts where I lived, so to go to a concert, we had to drive to Houston. And so I don't know how I convinced my mom and my dad to let me and my friends drive to the 1984 Texas Jam, which was in the Astrodome. It was a good 2.5, 3-hour drive. We were going to be there all day at a rock concert with rock concert things going on. It's kind of a festival concert to boot, and then drive home that night. But it was a really great experience, even though our seats were about as far away as possible from the stage. I think the lineup that night included, for that Texas Jam Festival, included Bryan Adams, of all people, who was really the outlier. And then 38 Special, which was a big deal in the 80s, played. And then Ozzy was the second headlining act. And Ozzy came out, and I think he performed Bark at the Moon was his opening song. And I remember him either getting hurt or passing out and his set being cut short. And then that was followed by Rush, which is the primary reason me and my friends went. It was during the Gracing the Pressure tour, and so we went to see Rush, and that was my first concert experience. Prompt 8, your favorite underrated singer-songwriter. I don't know. This is difficult. I'm not sure who is and isn't underrated. I'm going to go with Maynard James Keenan, because late in life I really got into listening to Tool, and I like the lyrical content. I like the way the progressiveness, the prog rock, heavy prog rock sound. I like the anger oftentimes in those songs, and so Maynard James Keenan was a singer, lyricist, songwriter in part for Tool and for Perfect Circle, and I think there's another band whose name I've forgotten now. So I'm going to go with him. And then prompt number 9, favorite new to you song. This is not a new song, and it's not really new to me. I couldn't think of a new to me song which fits in the category of rock and rolls. I'm going to go with Duality by Slipknot. Like I said, this song is not new at all, but to me it's one of those new songs which gets me going, which I enjoy kind of screaming in the car when driving. If you haven't picked up on that, I am the guy sitting next to you who is singing really loudly in his car, stopped in traffic, and Duality kind of works that way for me. The 10th prompt is to tag people. This tag's been out there for a while. If you want to do the rock and roll tag, if you have a rock and roll soul, please feel free to do the tag. Make sure you mention Alan. I'll leave a link to his original down below and to MJ's down below. Look forward to your comments in the comment section, and as always, thank you for watching.